Hello everybody, my name is Christian, and today we are once again back for another installment in the Masterclass in Design series, I suppose is what I'm going to call it. This is the same type of video as my March 7 video and my Mighty video. I will be taking one character today, telling you about their moveset, and ultimately why I think they are an amazing character, why I think they're very interesting, and then we're just going to go over, what you want to do with the character, why you would want them, and how to make them. The specific character we're going to be talking about today has actually been requested by the channel point reward on my Twitch channel. If you go onto my Twitch channel, and I believe it is 30,000 points, you can redeem for me to talk about any character of your choosing that I have not already covered, or that I'm not already in the process of covering. This is also an option for members of my YouTube channel. If you pay for the highest tier, which is Aeon, I will make a video almost immediately about the character of your choosing. So, without any further delays, let's get into the character we're going to be talking about today. None other than the Queen of Nihility, and one of the characters who has resisted power creep the most, Acheron.
Do your worst.
Many of you probably know this at this point. I have been critical of Acheron in the past. Critical is probably not the most accurate way to phrase it, but I want to make it clear, I absolutely love Acheron in the story as a character, and I absolutely love the voice work of Acheron because I am a massive Allegra Clark fan. Acheron as a character, overall, one of my absolute favorites. Acheron in the actual gameplay sense, just a little bit annoying. I feel like people always take it the most extreme way when I'm not, the kindest to Acheron, because genuinely, she does need a fair bit of investment on your end to really make her competitive, to really allow her to keep up with the rest of the game. I feel like people get on me for that. I feel like that's not a hot take. I feel like that's not a wild statement. However, I also never give Acheron enough credit. She was released in 2.1, and she is still able to keep up with almost all endgame content. She can perform in Pure Fiction, she can perform in MOC, and she can keep up in Apocalyptic Shadow. She is amazing across all three game modes, and she still just gets support somehow. It is insane just how much they love this character. Which, to be fair, I love the character, but damn, this is getting to some genuine levels. Anyway, with that said, let's now move on to what we're going to do today. So, if you already understand all of Acheron's moves, you understand what they do, how they work, then skip to this part of the video. This opening part is always for beginners who just don't have Acheron, have never played her, so that they can kind of understand the moveset and, really start to have an appreciation for it while understanding what the hell any of this means. Because Acheron's got some stuff going on, man. Alright, we can now get into it. So let's start with Acheron's basic attack, Trilateral Wilt Cross. What the everlasting hell is that name? Okay, so just as per usual with these videos, I've never actually read most of these move names. That's insane. That is just insane. Alright, so her basic attack, Shocker, deals lightning damage equal to 100% of Acheron's attack to a single target enemy. Not really the most impressive or different, but hey, gotta knock it out. Next up, Acheron's skill, Octobolt Flash. This is a blast attack, and when Acheron uses it, she will gain 1 point of Slash Dream. She will inflict 1 stack of Crimson Knot on a single target enemy, dealing lightning damage equal to 160% of Acheron's attack, as well as lightning damage equal to 60% of Acheron's attack to adjacent targets. Not too bad overall, and most importantly, it's actually Acheron's main way of inflicting Slash Dream herself. Otherwise, she can't really get many charges without, her signature Lycone, so keep that in mind. Next up, I would talk about her ultimate, but we're actually going to jump to the talent first. Her talent and her ultimate are directly correlated to each other, and reading the talent first, trust me, is going to allow for the ultimate to make a little bit more sense. Acheron's ultimate is called Atop Rainleaf Hangs Oneness. When Slash Dream reaches 9 points, the ultimate can be activated. During the ultimate, reduces enemies' toughness regardless of weakness types, and reduces all enemies' all-type res by 20%. Lasting until the end of the ultimate. When any unit inflicts debuffs on an enemy target while using their ability, Acheron gains 1 point of Slash Dream, and inflicts 1 stack of Crimson Knot on the target. If debuffs are inflicted on multiple targets, then the 1 stack of Crimson Knot will be inflicted on the enemy target with the most Crimson Knot stacks. This effect can only trigger once per every ability usage. After an enemy target exits the field or gets defeated by any unit while Acheron is on the field, their Crimson Knot stacks will be transferred to the enemy target with the most Crimson Knot stacks on the field. Crimson Knot is extremely important to Acheron's ultimate, as we're about to see. So, the way Acheron gets Slash Dream is through debuffs. And, once you have 9 points of Slash Dream is how you can use your ultimate, which is Acheron's primary moneymaker. Also, these are all linked to Crimson Knot, which essentially just increases Acheron's ultimate damage. So now that we have a bit of a baseline, let's move on to Acheron's ultimate, Slash to Dream Cries in Red. This is an AoE move that is... oh boy. Ahem. Sequentially unleash Rainblade 3 times and Stygian Resurge 1 time, dealing lightning damage up to 372% of Acheron's attack to a single target enemy, as well as lightning damage up to 300% of Acheron's attack to other targets. So now, these are the 2 different forms of the attacks. First of all, Rainblade. Deals lightning damage equal to 24% of Acheron's attack to a single target enemy, and removes up to 3 stacks of Crimson Knot from the target. When Crimson Knot is removed, immediately deals lightning damage equal to 15% of Acheron's attack to all enemies. For every stack of Crimson Knot removed, the damage multiplier for this is additionally increased up to a maximum of 60%. Next, Stygian Resurge. Deals lightning damage equal to 120% of Acheron's attack to all enemies and removes all Crimson Knots. This is the most important thing for Acheron. Her ultimate does an insane amount of damage, and this is what is going to be her primary attack form. Skill, pretty good, doesn't do that much. Basic attack, worthless. This is where you are getting all of your investment from. This singular move. The importance of Crimson Knots is also pretty high, considering that they can massively increase the multiplier for all of your damage. Luckily, these almost always come alongside with debuffs, but for some reason, somehow, if you do not have Crimson Knot stacks or you do not have a lot of them, make sure that you do, or else you are going to be losing out on quite a bit of your damage. So now the final thing to talk about in her initial skills is Technique. Quadrivalent Ascendance, I believe is how I say that. I'm going to hope that's correct. So, immediately attacks the enemy. At the start of each wave, gains Quadrivalent Ascendance, dealing lightning damage equal to 200% of Acheron's attack to all enemies, and reducing toughness of all enemies, irrespective of weakness types. And now, down here at the bottom, it actually explains what the hell this is. After using the ultimate, Acheron gains 1 point of Slash Dream and inflicts 1 stack of Crimson Knot on a single random enemy. However, if you are attacking a normal enemy, immediately defeats them without entering combat. Funnily enough, I made a video a while ago where I talked about characters who you might want to be wary of or you might not want to pull. Acheron was on that list. I got a lot of comments saying that Acheron was still worth pulling because of this technique, and genuinely, that is kind of fair, actually. This technique can get rid of any overworld normal enemy, and if they are not an elite type enemy, because there are some of those guarding chests as well, not just elite ones, this will delete them instantly. This technique, genuinely, if you are somebody who hates fighting overworld enemies, or who just wants to get through the game a little bit quicker when you're actually playing the story, Acheron is a must pull in that case, which is so funny to me. That this is one of the most redeeming factors for every single player of this game. The fact that you do not have to fight mobs. Like, you could just run away. But no, you could just slash him as Acheron, that works too. And I actually did make use of this throughout the entirety of my Amphorius playthrough for 3.1 and 3.2. What a based move, man. Alright, so now let's scroll down to major traces. We've got A2, Red Oni. When battle starts, immediately gains 5 points of Slash Dream and applies 5 stacks of Crimson Knot to a random enemy. When Slash Dream reaches its upper limit, for every point of Slash Dream that exceeds the limit, gain 1 stack of Quadrivalent Ascendance. The maximum stackable count for this is 3. I'm pretty sure everyone followed that, but essentially, if you get your ultimate, but you're still applying debuffs, you can get up to 3 points of Slash Dream immediately. And you can also get 3 stacks of Crimson Knot immediately, all after ulting. Pretty helpful, and admittedly, this comes up very, very often because you're just going to be stacking debuffs a lot. You might just lose count eventually. Next up, this one is pretty interesting. This is A4, the Abyss. When there are 1 or 2 Nihility characters other than Acheron in the team, the damage dealt by Acheron's basic attack, skill, and ultimate increases to 115% or 160% of the original damage respectively. Okay, so this one is... oh boy, this is pretty important for Acheron. You're already gonna want to run her with a Nihility character, and this incentivizes you to play her with 2 of them, because an additional 45% damage on everything you do is really, really good. Now, there is some cases where this can be kinda, ignored a little bit, but we will talk about that later. Overall, I actually quite like this trace because it rewards you for doing the ideal sort of team type with the character. Alright, and now last but not least, A6 Thundercore. When the Rain Blade from Acheron's ultimate hits enemy targets with Crimson Knot, her damage increases by 30%, stacking up to 3 times and lasting for 3 turns. And when Stygian Resurge triggers, additionally deals damage for 6 times. Each time deals lightning damage equal to 25% of Acheron's attack to a single random enemy and is viewed as part of the ultimate damage. Yeah, so that just makes her ultimate even fucking better. So, hey, get that one. You see that trace? If you have Acheron, get that one. Get that one almost immediately. To be fair, Red Oni is definitely the most important one because it means you can get your ult faster and more consistently. But yeah, Thundercore, pretty good. Grab that one very quickly. That's a lot of extra damage. And now we move on to minor traces. Yeah, it's not really anything impressive, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, crit damage, lightning damage, attack. Wow. Very awesome. Alright, moving on. That lands us at Idolons. As per usual, if you are a free-to-play player, you don't really worry about Idolons. However, Idolons can vastly impact the gameplay experience, so it's always worth talking about them, especially since there are people who just get lucky, so... And there are also the people who are light spenders who might want to know the best value for what you're getting. First up, we have E1, Silent Sky Spake Sooth. What? Crit rate increases by 18% when dealing damage to debuffed enemies. Fun fact, as Acheron, you will always be fighting a debuffed enemy. If you're not, you are doing something insanely wrong. Overall, this is just a great quality of life Eidolon for Acheron. It makes building her even easier. Not really the most essential, I would say, but it's a stepping stone to what I feel is her most important Eidolon, and I'm sure many people would agree with me on that. E2, Mute Thunder and Still Tempest. The number of Nihility characters required for the trace The Abyss to achieve its highest possible effect is reduced by 1. When this unit's turn starts, gains 1 point of Slash Dream and inflicts 1 stack of Crimson Knot on the enemy with the most Crimson Knot stacks. So now, on top of the 5 you get when starting a battle, the moment it is Acheron's turn, you're now gonna jump to 6. Then, if you have Acheron's signature where she can inflict a debuff, that is 7. God forbid you have teammates who can inflict 2 debuffs. There you go, you have an ult, and you no longer need 2 Nihility characters. Guess what? That means you can now sub in an action advancer or another sort of damage increase. Like, let's say you want to do Tribbian Jiao Cho. There you go, you get a bunch of extra damage. Let's say you're running Jiao Cho and frickin' Sparkle. There you go, plenty of extra damage. This trace is the most essential to keeping Acheron in her state as one of the highest longevity characters in Star Rail. If you want to keep using Acheron for a very long time, this single Eidolon is going to do massive work for you. E3 and E5, they're the usual talent and skill upgrades. I'm going to be honest, these don't really matter, I'm not going to go over them. I will say, the names kind of go hard. Frost Bites in Death, and Strewn Souls on Erased Earths. That is so freaking hard. I love those names. Alright, E4, which personally I don't think I've ever looked at Acheron's E4. When enemy targets enter combat, makes them vulnerable to the ultimate damage, increasing the amount of damage they take from the ultimate by 8%. I mean, it's not bad. It's not great, but more damage is more damage. I will say, if you're gonna make it to E4, do not stop at E4. You've already gone too far. Commit to E6. Stopping at E4 Acheron is just kind of sad. This now brings us to the final one, E6. Apocalypse the Emancipator. She's so cool. Sorry. So this Idolon increases the all-type res pen for the ultimate damage dealt by Acheron by 20%. The damage dealt by basic attack and skill will also be considered as ultimate damage and can reduce enemy toughness regardless of weakness types. So essentially, we just made Acheron into a break character. That's really what we're doing with this. I mean, all-type res pen, that's just a 20% more damage increase. That's great. And especially if you partner this with the E4, you now get 28% increased damage on all enemies. Comboing that with a Jiao Cho or something, you're basically at... Oh no, actually, you're already at 100 whenever you use your ultimate. And now all of your damage is ultimate damage. Yeah, okay, so if you already have her ideal partner, this E6 is going to do wonders for you, I guarantee that. Otherwise, it's a pretty good E6, and anything that gives res pen, like 20% more, that's always going to be helpful. That's just more damage. So that is all of Acheron's Idolons knocked out of the way, and yeah, I will say the best value here is absolutely E2. E6 can be extremely helpful, but in most cases, I would say just stop at E2. That does a lot for you. It is going to open up your world with team building options. It is going to give you more damage overall because your rotations are going to be faster. That is where most Acheron players can stop. You will be fully content with your character, in my opinion. Alright, that is the basic moveset and everything done. So now, let's finally get into what do I like about the character, why do I think they are designed so well. Whenever Acheron was coming out, I remember that an ultimate not requiring any energy was just the most revolutionary concept. Everybody was so surprised, we didn't know what exactly was going to go on. All we saw was this character nuking things with her ultimate. It was frightening, but it was exciting at the same time. Now, this concept has obviously come back around since then, with Fei Xiao having the exact same type of ultimate, except it's linked to attacks, and then there's Castorus' ultimate, which is linked to HP. This is all a pretty interesting concept that I'm kind of glad exists in the game now. I just find it super, super fun that there isn't just, like, it's not all just energy-based ults. And then we have transformation ults as well, like Agli and Firefly as well, which are also cool, but I really do think these types of ultimates, these type of playstyles, are just so unique, so cool. I absolutely love it. It is just overall very, very fun. What makes Acheron just so cool and just so unique to me is the fact that her ultimate is so impactful for her. This character is reliant upon it, but also it is such a visually stunning move. It is not hard to really get the amount of debuffs you need. It has a very, very easy to maintain, like, win condition. And it's just incredibly powerful. That ultimate being so powerful is the reason Acheron is still able to keep up with current day content. No other character from that time period is keeping up anywhere near as well as Acheron. Boothill is managing. Boothill's still doing decent. But then there's a character like Yuna Lee who came out afterward who isn't performing as well as Acheron is. Now, this occurs for a few different reasons, like just not as much support, or, you know, Acheron getting the most perfect character of all time made for her. But that doesn't change the fact that Acheron has managed to hold up so well because of the uniqueness of her playstyle. And you would think being so reliant on one simple thing would be bad for the character, when really, it just allows her to focus so much on it that you can find ways to improve that specifically, and it'll improve the character and keep her competitive. That's something that, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's been seen with nearly as many characters. We're kind of seeing it with the HP scalers because anything that increases more HP is going to be helpful for them. So Tribby is the most perfect character of all time for Mighty and Castorus because more HP. Castorus gets more to drain, and Mighty, he gets to drain even more of his own HP to do even more damage because of Tribby. This is kind of the same concept for Acheron, where as long as they can do a debuff, there we go, you're set. And then if you can increase ultimate damage, oh my god, even better. That's even better. It's so interesting how this all works out, because as many complaints as I have about Acheron, she has a very flexible style in reality that you wouldn't expect. Now, do I love that you really prefer to have E2 to achieve that flexibility? No, I'm not really a fan of that. However, the flexibility still exists, because sacrificing that 45% damage to only have one Nihility character, this can very easily be rectified by just having another good support in your corner ready to help you. So, for example, let's say you're running Jiao Cho, which is her absolute best support, and now you want to run Sunday. Well, you're going to lose a bit of damage, but the nice part is, Sunday is going to get you more turns consistently, so you're just going to be dealing a bit more damage. He's going to increase Acheron's crit rate, which is amazing because now that means you get to focus less on crit rate, and now focus more of those stats into attack or crit damage. And you're still getting a 30% damage boost from Sunday. And that's not even including his ult, which is a crit damage boost on top of that. So you're not really losing out on much, and you're gaining so much in the process. This is just one specific example as well. Because the thing is, though, with Acheron, she has a few options for what she can do and who she can work with. Like, I keep mentioning Jiao Cho because Jiao Cho's the best. That's not your only option. We have Pela, who came out in the start of the game, who is still a viable option for Acheron. That is insane. There's also a character like Gwenaifen, who is a 4-star, but manages to still be of help to Acheron because she has a debuff she can inflict, and guess what? That debuff increases damage taken. That is exactly what Acheron wants. Acheron loves her enemies being weaker, meaning they are going to take even more damage from that goddamn ultimate. That is what Acheron lives for. Even now, we just got Cypher. A lot of people see Cypher as only a follow-up support. Guess what? Cypher with the same Lycone that Pela uses will get you about 50% increased damage. If you don't have Jiao Cho, but you have Cypher, and you have another action advancer, another character to really increase damage, you can now run that, and you will still get results. It'll still work out for you. That's amazing. Now, the amount of characters still is limited, because no matter what, you want at least one Nihility character. Lacking a Nihility character will really tank your damage. You really want that, especially with Acheron's preferred planar set, requiring 2 characters of the same path. However, Nihility still has a lot of characters in it to choose from. And again, you can just pick one, and then you can get creative with the other character you bring alongside with you. There's even the case of E0 Acheron players putting Acheron with Jiao Cho, putting Acheron with whatever freaking defense shredder you want, and then you have a Welt as your sustain constantly slowing the enemy. Not only are you now achieving the goal of having 2 Nihility characters at E0, but you're also still getting exactly what you want. You're getting your frickin' defense shredder, and then more damage on top of that because that 3rd slot is now open to whatever type of damage increase you want, whether it be action advance or just more damage increase, more defense shred. This type of freedom is something that I feel like a lot of recent characters have gotten a little bit better with, but it's not something super common for a lot of the characters in Star Rail. So for a character who is a bit older at this point to still kind of exemplify that in a lot of ways is honestly very impressive and just very admirable. To be this kind of unique moveset, this kind of unique character, all while having one of the best presented kits in the entire game and having one of the best stories in the entire game. I know that's not really what people care about too much, but it matters to me, and her storyline, her whole writing, her character is amazing. That package of a character is fantastic, and it is so hard to find, I feel. That's why I like Acheron so much. She is far from a perfect character, as I will always remind you lovely viewers, but she is still incredible regardless. And if you are willing to invest, she is more than worthwhile at this point in the game. She has held up incredibly well, she will still hold up incredibly well, and I have a very strong feeling that when she eventually starts to fail, Star Rail will not let her. She will get some sort of support that will bring her straight back into the fight. Obviously, this isn't another pull recommendation guide or anything, but hey, keep that in mind, especially if you're already watching the video about Acheron. You know, you've probably already committed, so hey, I really hope you enjoy your character. Now, let's move on to Acheron's ideal build and ideal teams. I will not be talking too much about teams because I feel like I've already gone into it at a very noticeable level. But hey, I'll make a little mention, I suppose. So, starting off with Acheron's Lycone options. We can see it on screen here. Her best is far and away along the passing shore, her signature Lycone. This will increase crit damage, and more importantly, it'll give her a debuff to inflict all on her own. That is really important. It'll really help you in getting those stacks, not to mention, I'm pretty sure it's just very good. Let's take a look at this. So, increase the wearer's crit damage, yep, there we go. When the wearer hits an enemy, inflicts Mirage Fizzle on the enemy lasting for 1 turn. Each time the wearer attacks, this effect can only trigger 1 time on each target. The wearer will deal 24 increased damage to targets afflicted with Mirage Fizzle, and the ultimate damage additionally increases by another 24%. Literally, the most perfect Lycone for Acheron of all time. You cannot do better than that, and that is why the next best is a pretty noticeable drop-off. Now, Incessant Rain is partially useless because it has effect hit rate on it, and you don't need that on Acheron, but oh well. The more important thing here is, when the wearer deals damage to an enemy with 3 or more debuffs, which, ideally, Acheron's enemies will have on them, increase your crit rate by 12. Whenever the wearer uses their basic attack, skill, or ultimate, you can implant Ether Code on a random hit target, and targets with Ether Code will take 12% increased damage. Overall, a decent Lycone. The nice part is you're going to get some more crit rate, so that'll help out your building a little bit, and you're going to get that increased damage, but overall, I'm sure many of you can see why Along the Passing Shore is just objectively better. Now, the final option you really want to be looking for is Good Night Sleep Well. This is the most common cone for almost all Nihility characters because it will greatly increase your damage based on the amount of debuffs on the target. However, yeah, if you can get Acheron's signature, it is going to be severely more impactful than anything else. There is also one more option down here of Boundless Choreo. It will just straight up increase your crit rate from what I remember. I can check, but yeah, so at S5, it'll increase your crit rate by 16%, and you'll deal 48% more crit damage to enemies that are currently defense reduced or slowed. Most targets will be defense reduced, so hey, you're going to get the most out of that cone, but yeah, even take Good Night Sleep Well over it, I'm going to be honest. As for your ideal relic set, I'm not going to waste your time. It's Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters, and that's literally it. It's literally not close with a single other option. Don't look at Scholar Lost in Erudition. Don't look at Band of Sizzling Thunder. Don't look at any 2-piece. Get Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters. This will increase your damage dealt to enemies with debuffs. That is incredible. This is a character who relies entirely on debuffs to do her damage to begin with. It'll also increase your crit rate by 4, and it'll increase your crit damage to enemies with debuffs on them. There is no better relic set in the game for Acheron, and I imagine there will not be a better relic set for a while. This is by far the best one available. The same thing goes for your planar sets. Inert Cell Sato can technically be helpful, I guess. It'll increase your crit rate, and you'll have over 50% crit rate, so you'll get 15% extra damage on your ult. So that's not bad. However, Izumo is by far Acheron's best. It'll increase your attack by 12%, and when you have that extra nihility on the field with you, you're also going to get an additional 12% crit rate. Yeah, it's pretty obvious this is by far her best, especially when, to even function as a character, she needs another nihility on the field. You're going to want this above all other options. Do not even bother grinding anything else. If you are just looking for a set to kind of fill in, then okay, well, go for Inert Salsato, but getting Izumo should be your top priority. So first of all, for your body piece, you should always be looking more for crit rate because Acheron doesn't have any natural crit rate increases in her kit. You're mostly going to be getting that out of relic pieces, anything you have on your team that increases crit rate, and then your planar set. If you have E1, remember, that increases your crit rate by 18% against debuffed enemies. At that point, I would start looking to maybe switch to a crit damage body. Now, if you're going to lose out on overall crit rate, so you're going to lose 100% crit rate, or you're going to lose out on your crit damage overall because you're not getting good rolls, switch back to the crit rate body. It's not that big of a difference, but if you have E1, I would highly suggest switching over. As for your boots, yeah, you should really just focus on attack percent. Acheron's turns don't really matter. Acheron is a character who relies entirely on her ult. Ult can be activated whenever and go off whenever. So what does she need her turn for realistically? Yes, if you get her turn, you can inflict more debuffs, so hey, that's going to be really good to get your count up, but overall, you don't really need to worry about Acheron's turn, so focus on getting as much attack as humanly possible to destroy your enemies. That was a tad bit aggressive, but, it really drives the point home, you know what I'm saying? The kids gotta understand. No mercy. I've been watching too much Cobra Kai. Next up, Planar Sphere. I'm gonna be honest, yeah, it don't really matter too much. Get an attack orb. If you get a lightning damage boost, that's not as good, but it's fine. Although most people usually have more luck getting attack orbs, so I don't imagine this will be a big issue for many people, so hey, have fun with that. And last but not least, Link Rope. Yeah, it's attack percent. Is anybody really shocked by that? How many DPS have their rope not be attack? Genuine question. Aglaya can choose to have energy regen, I know that. And then there are some characters who maybe I think Break Effect is still an option on Link Ropes. That might be insane. So if it's a DPS, you're gonna want attack rope. Simple as that. Yeah, the recommended stats down here, I'm going to be honest, just don't look at those. Just go off the vibes. Try and get 100% crit rate, and then stack as much crit damage and attack as humanly possible. That's really all you got to worry about. So now, that brings us to the ideal teams for Acheron. Now, Acheron does not function as a sub-DPS in any way, shape, or form. So you're kind of limited in what teams you can actually make. All the teams have to center around Acheron, so that just means what teammates are you going to be switching out for her? If you're looking to make the best free-to-play Acheron build, then you're going to want Acheron, you're going to want Pela, you're going to want probably Gwynaifen, and then insert healer here of your choice. It should be Gallagher, though. Gallagher has the ability to inflict a debuff, and not to mention, you can build him super fast, so he gets it off even more often. Yeah, sustains, I don't know, man. Just make do at that point. Next up, if you're looking for your best premium Acheron build, you're going to be looking at Acheron, you're going to be looking at Jiaoqiu, you're going to want Cypher at this point alongside them, and in terms of a healer, well, knock yourself out, probably Aventurine though. Aventurine at least has the ability to inflict a debuff, plus that debuff increases crit damage taken, I believe, so hey, that's going to be a really big boost for Acheron's personal damage. At this point, Pela is going to be mostly replaced by Cypher, I feel. Mostly because Cypher also has the ability to increase damage taken by a pretty large amount, and she will probably be able to do even more so with the right Lycone, and she can actually do damage unlike Pela. It's pretty simple when you look at it that way, so if you really want to make the best premium team at E0, definitely get those characters and their Lycones if you can. Last but not least, we have your E2 Acheron team. This is going to consist of Acheron, you're going to want Jiaoqiu. After that, your options kind of vary. I will say either Sunday or Sparkle as your main option. They're going to increase your damage a lot. They're going to get Acheron more turns, so hey, you can actually take advantage of inflicting those debuffs with her signature Lycone. Overall, that's going to be your best instead of getting even more increased damage with somebody like Tribby or again, somebody like Cypher. Not to mention, you don't actually need the 2 Nihilities anymore, so it's just going to give you a lot more potential to play around and find something more damaging. The sustain on that team is, once again, it's probably Aventurine, but just do whatever works, man. Acheron sustains do not really matter that much, I've gotta be honest. Find whatever works, then fill them with the fear of God itself. Because it seems like that's what she can do sometimes. Alright, and with all that said, we are wrapped up for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Definitely not as long as the other videos, at least I think. I mean, I'm saying this when I haven't edited it, so hey, if I got that wrong, then whoopsie. But I really hope you guys enjoyed regardless. Acheron is an absolutely phenomenal character. I really, really love her and what she kind of meant for the story, what she meant for a lot of players. And yeah, if you guys are ever looking to get Acheron, then I hope this kind of helps you with that. We got more good videos coming out soon, so I will see you guys then. Bye-bye.